Devil May Cry.
Don't.
Catching the fire!
Don't. Stay.
Get out of my sight!
Don't move.
Hey! Go, baby! Take your time!
Woo! Hey!
Don't move.
Hey! Woo! Hey!
Don't stay there. Pathetic. Cut off. Bigger. Pathetic.
Hell yeah! Take your time! Alright!
Blast.
Yeah! Get in there! Come on!
Woo! Hey!
Go, baby!
Pathetic. Bigger.
Get in there! Take your time! Watch your look! Hell yeah! Take your time!
Don't move. Stay.
Take your time!
Pathetic.
Yeah!
Cut off.
Woo! Hey!
Yeah!
Blast. Don't stay where you are.
Take your time! Alright!
Woo! Hey!
Hey, what's up, man? Good evening. Yeah, I didn't really feel like voice chatting tonight. Instead, I spent my time, trying to like that Crimson Desert game and rage quitting. So I think hanging out with you would have been, more productive. That game's pacing is just terrible, man. I played for like an hour and like nothing happened. I'm like, I'm just not feeling this. It really is one of those, you know, One Piece gets really good 300 episodes in. It's like, well, that's cool, but I'm like already kind of tapped out. They're making progress on modding it, so I don't know. It was gifted to me by a friend for my birthday, so I don't feel pressured to play it. I'm especially glad I didn't stream it. Especially glad I did not stream it, because I was getting filtered by jank controls. I'm in their modding Discord. They've made some pretty significant progress, so I might just wait for that, to be honest with you. Exactly why I don't want donations for like every game I play. This is exactly why. I can't imagine being forced, feeling pressured to play that game. They did do a major patch today, so I'm sure that they'll unjankify it eventually. Just not really looking to be frustrated, especially when it was a gift, and I don't owe playing it to anybody. You know, give it a shot. Once they get like Diablo loot and like a roguelike mode in that game and they increase the responsiveness so he doesn't take like a fiscal year to respond to button inputs, that game will be awesome. But right now, I don't really have any interest in playing it. I just have to play it for like maybe half an hour a day like this. Half hour a day to get through the horrible pacing at the beginning, and then maybe by the time I get out of the tutorial, the game will be patched and modded like 10 times. So I think that's the way to go. Will I stream that though? No. Extremely low chance of streaming that. I think that game is not even Discord voice chat worthy. Yeah, I should have just done a voice chat tonight, but I didn't want to hear people. I didn't want people to hear me malding at that game, so I elected to just, as soon as I got back from working with the cats, to play that, and I regret it. Hanging out with you guys would have been a better choice. That's alright, though. They are getting extremely quick at modding and patching that game, so I'm not exactly in a hurry to power through it.
自分の任務を遂行しなさい。さまよう魂よ、今終焉の安らぎを授ける。断罪気づくなさい。じゃあ二度と戻らない。私に捧げなさい。奏でましょう絶滅の符号。溶けて消えなさい。崩壊なさい。真実を受け入れなさい。これで終わりよ。刈り取ってあげる。終焉の音を聞きなさい。溶けて消えなさい。崩壊なさい。真実を受け入れなさい。これで終わりよ。物語はここで終わる。結末のまばたき。さあ、マコ見せてあげる。あなたの知らない景色を。あなたの望む奇跡を抱きしめなす。やはりこの物語も結末は変わらない。あなたの運命に決まってまばたきしないで見せてあげる。あなたの知らない景色を。さまよう魂よ、ひざまずき断罪。じゃあ二度と戻らない。私に捧げなさい。袋のネズミね。溶けて消えなさい。崩壊なさい。真実を受け入れなさい。偽りの存在にこれで終わりよ。終焉の音を聞きなさい。溶けて消え、偽りの存在。崩壊なさい。真実を受け入れなさい。成功なんて無意味。物語はここで終わる。ひざまず迷えばいい。断罪。じゃあ二度と戻らない。 まだ足りない。私に捧げなさい。袋のネズミね。お返しするわ。あなたの望む奇跡刈り取ってあげる。やはりこの物語も結末は変わらない。あなたの運命をさ守ってしまう。見せてあげる。あなたの知らない景色をお返しするわ。やはりこの物語も結末は変わらない。あなた静かに滅びなさい。さあ新たな物語。
So I bought Rushing Beat X on PC because after I asked you to loan the cash, ironically, like a couple hours later, my YouTube money came in. So I went ahead and got it myself. And the main reason I did is because if they start patching that game, it's probably going to take forever to get the patches on console. That's already happening with Crimson Desert, right? They put out like a major quality of life and bug fix patch, and like console still doesn't have it yet. So that was the main reason. I mean, it runs perfectly fine on Switch 2, but I don't think the game will get any mods. That seems straight delusional. But there is a cheat engine table to give you unlimited weapons. That might actually be really fun. Mess around with the game like that. Was there another patch recently? What happened? What did they change? I only bought it this morning, so I really don't know what they've done since. I don't hate the game anymore. It's really just gonna depend on how they act. Damage values and like the pacing, the stuff in that game is really not fun, but like it does have a fun foundation. It's not like it's irredeemable. It's not like it's irredeemable. It just depends on if they actually do anything about the feedback or if they just disappear like last time. That's exactly what they did last time. Well, we're gonna take your feedback and put up another demo. I'm like, well, what happened to that? You nuked that. You nuked the old demo and then didn't come back. Like literally, Dad leaving for milk and cigs and never coming back meme. So I'm gonna hope that they're gonna step it up and not do that again. It's not a bad game. It really isn't. It's a couple patches away from being good. And it doesn't seem like there's too many other good beat 'em ups coming out this year that we know of anyway. So balls in their court. Make something a little bit more worth playing. That Jay and Silent Bob game is finally coming out, but I don't think that game's gonna have any value outside of memes and, you know, if you care about you know, the characters that are in it, the Clerks universe and stuff. And what they've shown of that gameplay looks incredibly stiff and unfun. Looks like one of those games that's like really awesome looking in screenshots, but dreadful to play. It looks like one of those games, so I'm probably not going to be bothering with that one. I mean, if they approach me with a sponsorship, maybe, if it was a good amount of money, because it is a beat 'em up, but I have no interest in that game. I would be shocked if that game has good gameplay. Doesn't help that, like, they crowdfunded that game so long ago that the site that they got the money from literally doesn't exist anymore. Think about that for a second. That game was not funded on Kickstarter or Indiegogo. It was Fig. And Fig shut down. Think about how long it's been. It's pretty nuts. I don't know how they even had enough money to finish it. They've been working on it for like 10 years or something. But yeah, Rushing Beat is going to clear that game easy. Like no contest. What happened with the He-Man show? You have to explain that to me, because I don't watch TV. What exactly happened with He-Man? Are you talking about the one that was in the 2000s? Because I know that one just kind of ended abruptly. There was another one after that? Like, what happened? Well, then what's wrong with the one that he was on? Like, what happened? I don't quite follow. It had, like, was it a bad show or something? Or Did they wage quit, or what? That's the first I've heard there even was a new He-Man show. Like, what happened? That's how out of the loop I am with TV-related stuff, unless it's Toku. I'm all into that, but normal TV stuff, yeah, I don't pay attention at all. Well, I mean, anything he had to do with the Chronic Blunt Punch game, he must have done like a decade ago. I don't think he's had anything to do with that in forever. To be honest with you. Probably recorded the voice lines. He probably recorded the voice lines like literally like a decade ago. So I don't know how much that has a bearing on anything, if people will actually care. I think at this point, people just want the game to exist in the first place. I think that's all they really want. I don't think they want anything else. They go on the Steam forums for that game, and people are like, I funded this game like 10 years ago, and the site where I did it doesn't even exist anymore. Like, where is it? I think people will just be happy to see it exist. It is like the, it's the Hollow Knight Silk Song of beat-em-ups, basically. Although, it's not going to be anywhere near as good. But the same thing, right? You know, they announced it and they crowdfunded it like eons ago. And then now it actually is kind of just randomly coming out, even though all signs pointed to it being a wage quit situation. Because whatever money it made was not meant to last a decade. So I don't know where they got the funding to keep doing it. I'm genuinely curious where they got the money, because
Select the character you wish
they probably, you know, expected to only work on it for like a couple years, but then it ballooned into a decade. So, I don't know. I feel like if that was something I funded, I'd be like, I don't even care if this game is bad. I just want what I paid for. I think that's what it is at this point. I would love to know what took them so long to make it. Like, the graphics actually look pretty good, but I just feel like it's gonna be incredibly janky. I don't see it being anything worth playing. It's just like the Phantom, right? Phantom looked great in screenshots, and then actually playing it was dreadful, so that's probably what it is. We'll definitely get some sales off how good it looks in stills, but I doubt it has any kind of merit in actual gameplay. I don't know, it's like, when was the last time He-Man was relevant, though? Like, last thing anybody liked about He-Man was the show from the early 2000s, which didn't even get an ending, just like most Western cartoons, where they wage quit. Which is why, like, a lot of the most successful American cartoons don't even try to have, like, a serialized plot, because they know that they're going to get canceled. They're going to get canceled before they can actually finish it. It's not the first time that's happened with an 80s property, too. It's the same thing with Thundercats. They brought Thundercats back, like, 15 years ago. That got canned, like, instantly. And they were also trying to, like, you know, age it up a bit, and then, like, have more of a serialized plot instead of most 80s and 90s cartoons where, you know, there wasn't really a lot of narrative or, like, plot advancement. You could watch one season and then go, like, 3 seasons ahead and not feel confused. So, I don't know. The original He-Man cartoon itself is trash. It's a terrible cartoon. It's got, like, the tokusatsu business model of just being there to sell toys, but tokusatsu is actually cool. It actually has fight scenes, and He-Man does not. I mean, they literally got told that they couldn't have him actually use his sword, so he mostly throws things, or, like, talks them down or something, which is a good lesson, yes, to not, you know, get yourself into fights and stuff, but it's boring to watch. Like, why do people care so much about He-Man? It never had any good games either. That's the thing. Ninja Turtles was like that too. A lot of people don't think that Ninja Turtles was like that. I'm talking about the one from the 80s that was airing around the same time that He-Man was. The fight scenes in that were non-existent as well, but it had other things about it, you know, the movies and the games and stuff that made it, you know, still popular. He-Man was never once like that. It's a tokusatsu level of toy commercial, but nowhere near as cool. It's just like, who's even the market for He-Man stuff? Because even I barely... He-Man was already done by the time I was old enough to actually understand what I was watching. He-Man is mostly for, like, Generation X people. Like, people that could be, like, my older brother, if I had one. It's not for millennials. And then, like, the, I guess the 2003 one was supposed to be, like, for my generation, but I never personally got into it, and then I'm glad I didn't, because, you know, they wage quit. Like, I don't understand who all this new He-Man stuff is for. I'm glad that the beat-em-up exists. That's probably going to be one of the few good He-Man things that's not in shitified, but yeah, I don't get what the market for it is. Anybody who tells you the old He-Man cartoon is good is looking at it through intense nostalgia goggles. There wasn't really anything else good about the property either. I mean, the movie was alright. I remember watching the movie when I was a kid. But the movie actually had action. That's the thing, though. The movie had action. The show doesn't. It's a really crappy vehicle for selling toys, but not in like a tokusatsu way, where like, you know, the story and the fighting and the other things about it are cool, that you can look past it. The fact that it's so toyetic, like, old He-Man is like, it's basically like our version of Toku. You know, everything about it is to sell you toys, but it also doesn't hit anywhere near as hard as Japan's toyetic stuff. You know, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, all those like toyetic franchises. Those are like actual shows, right? Like things actually happen. So, the fact that it's even getting a game based on the 80s one is crazy. People also do this with old Ninja Turtles as well. That had like non-existent fight scenes. The difference was that with old Turtles, 80s Turtles, they revolutionized how to have violence and not piss off the censors, because the foot soldiers were robots. He-Man was nothing like that. He was fighting like humans and stuff that were sentient, so he didn't get to actually fight anything. What's up, Tutas? How you doing? No, there wasn't one in the 90s. It was like early 80s. It's trash. Never watch it. Say what you want about old Turtles. Old Turtles is definitely a lot like that as well, but they did have fight scenes. Maybe not as good as like Power Rangers, but they did have fight scenes because somebody on the writer team was very smart and realized, you know, if we just make them robots, we can prevent the He-Man problem, where it's this big buff barbarian with a broadsword who can't actually use it or fight anything. It's like incredibly hard to write stories around that, right? He literally transformed into like, you know, a barbarian like on par with Arnold in his peak, but he can't actually fight anything, and he has a broadsword he can't use. Like, just imagine how shit that must be to write for. I changed my mind on the game. I've gotten better at it, but the last half of this game is terrible, but I do enjoy playing it. I'm also working on the overview. But everything I raged about when I did my blind playthrough, everybody else is saying the exact same thing, so it's not a skill issue. This game just has a lot of problems. I hope that they'll fix it, but you never know. But I do want to make an overview for it, so I'm kind of working on that right now. Yeah, exactly. So I'm working on that right now.
Hey, take care out there and have a blast.
That's what I'm working on currently.
Select the character you wish
I don't know how much I really need to put effort into it, but I figured this game got buried by Crimson Desert, but
Gate Bridge.
I tried playing Crimson Desert and the pacing was
Here I come.
glacially slow, and I hated the controls, so... And, I'm not going to be streaming that game anytime soon. That is strictly for my own personal use. But that was not a donation game. That was, a friend of mine that I know in real life gifted it to me, so... I have no obligation to play it. Just like this, I mean, I paid for this myself as well. I didn't take donations for this because I thought that I was going to get a key, but the people, I talked to the PR company and they ghosted me, so I just bought it. And that's why nobody gives a shit about this game, because they didn't do any marketing, and then they put it out on one of the most crowded days of the year for game releases that we have so far. You got Crimson Desert, Death Stranding 2 PC, and then this coming out on the same day, and not one person's talking about this. Could have done a little bit better if they actually did some marketing, but they did none. I don't know what it is with these new beat-em-ups. I'm like, let's just not interact with the people that, you know, the average viewer is going to be coming towards for opinions on this stuff anyway. Let's not interact with them. Let's make it difficult for them to make content. Oh, the money and the time. Absolutely idiotic. But the game is only $20, so it's not like... It's not a AAA game. Price isn't bad, but I still wonder why this keeps happening. This game's got its faults, but it's not bad. You know, if they can touch it up a bit, I would definitely recommend it more, but not interacting with the people that are in the beat-em-up community is really dumb, and I don't know why this keeps happening. Double Dragon Revive was the same thing. Although this game's a lot better than Revive, though. This game is much better. I only played Revive like once. This is like my third playthrough of this. So that says something. I mean, Iconoclast pointed out the same things that I did, right? Where it's like, it's fun, it's too long, the pacing is bad, the stage hazards and stuff are very annoying and don't add anything to the game. The damage values are all kinds of messed up, or like... You get grabbed by one enemy, and it takes off like all your health. And then another enemy and it does like a pixel. Apparently on the hardest difficulty you do like chip damage to everything. So a full playthrough must take like 4 hours. 3 to 4 hours, which is way too long. I feel like they designed this game around the Steam refund window. They totally designed this game around the Steam refund window. Like, look, if we can't have this be less than 90 minutes long if you're like really good. It's got to be like a 4-hour blind playthrough, which is pretty much what this game is. But the problem is the second half of this game is a lot less fun than the first one. They start going too crazy with the stage hazards and shit bosses. The final boss in particular is terrible. I don't know how they can fix that boss outside of straight removing it. would be nice if they just removed that boss entirely. It's the Vengeance Hunter's boss all over again. Just a big annoying gimmick that's not fun. Makes you not want to finish the game.
Welcome. Get back and relax. Hey, take care out there and have a blast.
Select the character you wish to use.
Well, that's the thing, Tutas. He did not get a key either. And he's a much larger channel than mine. So think about that for a second. He had to get good at that game off stream at launch. He didn't get a key. And I'm like, dude, he's gotten just as many keys as I have, if not more, for stuff like this. They didn't even give him one. And they're wondering why no one's buying it. If you have people that are gonna play the game anyway, you know, why don't you throw them a bone? Like, either a sponsorship or, you know, at least give them a key. They didn't do that. And they're gonna think that nobody wants beat-em-ups anymore. It's like, well, you need to actually market it. You don't market it. Marketing for this game is non-existent. They also announced it like a year ago. They announced that it was coming out like over a year ago, and there's been like nothing since. So, I don't know what it is that they were expecting. It's easy to say that it's Crimson Desert's fault. It's not Crimson Desert's fault. This game is going for a different audience, and is also available on consoles like the Switch. Like Switch, I think Switch 2 is like the lead platform for this game, and the Switch obviously doesn't have that game, so it's not Crimson Desert's fault. But you know, you don't even make an attempt to market it. That's not helping things either. I had people come in here and didn't even know it was coming out. I'm like, yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you for not knowing it's coming out, because they don't do any marketing. Which River City games? You talking about the new ones or the old ones? I mean, I'm old, so I played the original when I was a kid. They're fun games, but I can't stand the boss fights. The boss fights are way too gimmicky.
Hey, take care out there and have
They have that crazy combo system and you can barely use it because they keep turning invincible and doing MMO attacks. The games are fun otherwise. They're great co-op games.
Mutant Festival.
I think solo play-wise, you can do a lot better. This game's got its faults. It's really only got like one shit boss fight, and it's the last boss, because the last boss is one of those garbage gimmick boss fights where like most of the game mechanics don't work anymore. But the bosses in this are better than any of the River City Girls games. Those devs don't know how to balance having a combo system and actually letting you use it. So the way that they do it is them turning invincible and running away, which isn't too bad the first time, but that stuff really rags on you. You keep trying to play it. This game has pretty inoffensive bosses until the end. The last boss, I don't know what the hell they were thinking with that boss. It's not even, like, possible to do it skillfully. That's the problem I have with it. It's less that it's a gimmick boss fight. I mean, that sucks too, but you can't even do it skillfully because it's just bullet hell. You don't have, like, any kind of mechanics to, like, actually deal with it. So I just wonder why it's even like that. You know, the Streets of Rage 4 final boss isn't great either. That last boss isn't great either, but you can kill him a lot quicker, and at least some of the game mechanics still work. It's just kind of a boring fight because it's hyper armor, and then also you just use weapons and kill it, like, instantly. But I'll take that. I'll take that over, you know, being an MMO gimmick boss in a beat-em-up. It doesn't have any kind of place. One day these devs will stop ruining their games with shit gimmick boss fights. I hope I live to see that day. Because Vengeance Hunters was a lot like this game, where I did enjoy it, but the last boss made me not want to play it. Last boss is just a gimmick, and spams ads and stuff. It's just, like, not fun. Just give me a guy that takes normal hit stun. No, like, big hyper armor bosses that turn invincible and summon ads. I don't know, the final boss in this game just feels like it's designed to piss you off. It's not even challenging, it's just annoying. They go out of their way to, like, make you pissed off. And, like, it's significantly different than, like, the average intentionally hard video game boss. Because it's not hard. They, like, lower the damage considerably so that you can actually kill it. But it's like, then, why do that in the first place? Just make a normal boss. Yeah, Jitsu Squad's another one. Jitsu Squad's another one like that. Just anti-fun, and, you know, the whole part of the game where you put enemies in hit stun stops working. You gotta, like, design the whole game around that kind of thing, in my opinion. Instead of just, like, this game where bosses may not be particularly great, but at least the game mechanics work on them. And then, like, just randomly rug pulling in the last boss, like, most of your moveset doesn't work. That's just shit design. There's so many modern beat-em-ups that do that. The only one that's done it right is Streets 4. Streets 4, I think they were self-aware that the boss isn't very fun to fight, and, you know, the whole hit stun mechanic doesn't work. So, you know, you just pick up the weapon and whack it a couple times and it dies. If you're gonna do a gimmick boss, that's how it should be. You know, that game does it a lot better than this does, where it's like, the real boss fight is the twins, right? The real boss fight is the twins. The big spider robot is basically just a victory run. Like, if you get that far on one credit, you've won, right?
Another win for me. Armor Victory is mine. Another win for me.
I think what makes the final boss of this worse is that they actually tried to have a story reason for why you fight the same bosses over and over, but then you end the game with that. You don't even get the payoff of like a cool, unique boss that's behind everything. It's literally a brain in a jar. That's the other problem with this game as well. I really think that the whole story of this game was written around the fact that it didn't have a high enough budget to like make, you know, 15 unique bosses. You know, so they wrote it in, they wrote their low budget into the story, but then like you gotta have a good payoff for that, right? Like, you know, you fight an actual mastermind at the end or something, typical video game stuff, but you don't though. You fight a bunch of pillars that just exist to piss you off. You ever fix the remake of Night Slashers? No. That game was made by people who don't understand why beat-em-ups are good.
Feel its wrath.
They made it worse than the original in every way. It looks worse and plays worse. Let's think about that for a second. Pointless remake. They gotta stop doing these retro remakes of like old school games that have incredible pixel art and then shitifying them with worse graphics. There's that, there's the Joe and Mac. The Joe and Mac remake as well. Like instead of trying to make even halfway decent pixel art, they just use puppet animation. I'm like, well, if it looks worse than the old one and doesn't play much better, then why does it exist? Like, that's my question. And I get that, like, despite all the tools and stuff we have that make games easier than back in the day, that, like, making pixel art of that quality is still difficult. It requires a lot of talent and time and money, but, like, if the game is just gonna look worse than the old one, and then, like, you don't even have good combat designers, then why does it exist? Can someone answer that question? Because that's happened multiple times. The House of the Dead remakes as well are like that. Like, it does look better, but apparently the gameplay is just, like, worse in every way. To the point where people would rather just go put in the effort to set up an emulator than go buy the remake. I'm like, well, if people want to do that, then I think that you failed in remaking the game if you just shitified it. Stop shitifying old games. Like, if you're not even gonna get close to how they were before, despite, like, games being 1,000 times easier to make than back then don't remake it. Night Slashers is just funny because it plays really jank, and then the graphics are so much worse. Keep in mind the games are like 30 years apart, so that's pretty embarrassing on their part. Like, literal decades have passed. The thing about this game doesn't really have that problem. The graphics in the old Rushing Beat games were actually pretty terrible. The only one that had good graphics was the last one, Shura. The first two were leaps and bounds below. stuff like Turtles in Time and Final Fight, which were out at the same time. And some people don't like this art style. I'm like, well, I think this actually looks pretty good, and I like how it's colorful. The old games did not have good graphics, even for the time. I'm not talking about 2026 standards, I'm talking about 92 and 93 standards. Those games were competing with Final Fight 1, Final Fight 2, and Turtles in Time. The graphics of those games are 1,000 times better. So, I think they kind of developed this game within their lane. Like, you know, we're not going to go with, like, super good pixel art. You know, just, like, make it look like it passes for a Dreamcast game, which I'm fine with. The Rushing Beat series was not ever once known for its graphics, even as a kid. You know, playing, like, Turtles in Time and stuff around that same era. Those games looked so much better. I don't know if you guys have seen the first two games in the series. The graphics are really bad, even by, you know, early 90s standards.
Another win for me.
Yeah, I don't know how they keep getting work. Seems like the only decent thing that they've ever done was the Donkey Kong Country remaster, Country Returns. I heard that game is pretty decent, and they actually added some cool stuff that wasn't in the original. But I guess Sega just cares about getting the remake done fast, not well. Same thing goes for Night Slashers. Like, dude, those people are not capable of making a good beat 'em up. They are not. Like, gameplay or graphics-wise, it's just worse in every way. So, like, why does it exist? It's definitely hard to make a good beat 'em up, but screwing it up that bad definitely takes some skill. It's not like the original Night Slashers is even that great anyway. It definitely is kind of like carried by the presentation, the music, but the new one doesn't have those things. Quite literally, in-shitification. Taking something that was good and, you know, taking all the good stuff out of it.
Another win. Done playing around. Oh, it's time
I mean, talent is a thing as well. That's why, like, the Ninja Warriors remake is 1,000 times better than the Night Slashers remake and the Joe and Mac remake. Like, they're actually talented. And they're, like, good remakes as well, because they did actually improve the graphics instead of making them worse, and then they added, like, new content, but they didn't, like, change the game too much, where it feels like, you know, they're completely different games. You know, like, they did add, like, a juggle system to the Ninja Warriors remake, but, like, it doesn't really change the game, right? Like, it has very strict limitations on how much you can combo stuff. It basically uses, like, a juggle point system. It's cool that it's there, but you know, you can still play the game like the old one. Like, that is an incredible remake. That should be the standard for these retro remakes, but it's not. Let's get randos who don't know what they're doing because they're cheap.
Time to show my true power.
And just because they're cheap doesn't mean they can do it good. Should not be a big deal to remake a beat 'em up from the 90s. It shouldn't be like this huge undertaking. It's not like remaking Resident Evil 4. Nowhere near comparable, right? Like, that took like a huge team, and they had to be very careful about how they added stuff to it. Like, dude, it's an arcade beat 'em up. It's not rocket science. It should not look worse than the old one.
Another win for me.
That Joe and Mac remake really pisses me off because I did grow up with that game as a kid. I played it a lot. And then I saw the remake, and I'm like, why does this look worse? The game came out like 35 years ago. How are you gonna make a remake that looks worse? How is that possible? Average, like, $50 Temu phone is like 1,000 times more powerful than what they had back then. How are you gonna make it worse? Like, all the appeal of the art is just gone because it just uses puppet animation, so it looks like a Flash game. There are plenty of games like Overrider that I play on this channel regularly that use that art style very well, but that's an original IP, right? That's not, you know, some legendary game from the 80s or 90s. Completely fine. It's weird because, like, the Toki one from the same people was hand-drawn, so it did look pretty good. But Toki actually had not the best graphics in the first place in the old ones, so changing it's not really shitification. I'm starting to get annoyed with this game. These gimmicks get on my nerves. I never played any of those games. I hate FromSoft games. Shadow of the Colossus never interested me. What else have they even remade? I remember when Shadow of the Colossus came out, I thought the gameplay was boring. Well, I'm obviously not going to be, like, caring about the remake. I hate the combat in FromSoft games, so Demon Souls remake looked good, but not for me. It's not something I would ever play. Especially because it's not even on PC, so I couldn't play it even if I wanted to. That game's still stuck on the PS5. I don't know how much my opinion on those things matters. I don't have access to that game even if I wanted to play it. This is where this game's pacing just drops off a cliff. Just endless spawns and annoying gimmicks to slow you down, instead of just keeping it short and concise. I played, like, no American-made PlayStation games, because they're all just forced walking and set pieces and talking. and like average gameplay. I tried the new God of War. I played it for like 2 hours and barely even fought anything. I'm like, I don't see the appeal of this. They don't even have like cool set pieces anymore because they committed to having that. You gotta be like right by his right shoulder all the time.
Select the character you wish to
Major
use.
downgrade, and the kid was annoying as well. Only thing I liked about Ragnarok, I never even bothered playing the actual game. I liked the roguelike mode that they added. That was fun. The actual game is just so much fucking forced walking and talking and stuff like that. I don't really like any of their first-party stuffs. It's like devoid of gameplay. These games need to be long now, even if they run out of steam. Exactly like this game! This game is all gameplay, and then still has bad pacing. The pacing in this game, once you get past the 5th level, just disappears. Felt like we need to make sure people can't beat this and then refund it. Especially because this game doesn't really even have any interesting unlockables. There's one character, and then there's boss rush mode, but this game having boss rush mode is just funny because it has like 4 unique bosses that you fight like 10 times each. So I don't know why they didn't put effort into like something more interesting to unlock. You fight this guy like 6 times. Why at any point in development did they think this game needed a boss rush mode? I mean, it kind of already is one. Just playing it by default. They literally wrote it into the story. There's like this hive mind brain creating all these clones, and that's why you fight them all 16 times each. Literally have a lore reason for why you fight everything over and over. I'm like, well then, why is there a boss rush mode? I don't want to fight these bosses another 10 times in a row. Fight the same boss again. But in a row. Isn't that what the basic playthrough already is? I don't think these people played, like, DMC3, where, like, you fight Virgil 3 times, but he actually changes every time. It's a completely different fight. In this game, it really is just, like, the same boss. There's no difference. I think the interesting thing about the God of War games is, like, it actually is an objective downgrade in some ways. Storytelling, no. Storytelling seems a lot better in the new one, but, like, deciding to have it be over the shoulder like that really made it so there's, like, no set pieces anymore. It actually is quite a bit worse.
out there and have a blast.
Select the character you wish to use.
I mean, I grew up in the arcades. That's why most of the modern games I play are just that. That's why I like roguelikes. Because there are no bullshit, no padding and forced walking sections and yapping. You know, you just play the game. Now, I know people are really tired of roguelikes, but that they are the most adjacent to what I grew up playing. I spent like decades in the arcade, so stuff that's mostly about just like talking and immersion and stuff, like I'm just not interested. I grew up before like playing games before things like that were common. Not to say I didn't play some games like that, but definitely stuff like this, because I've always gravitated towards gameplay focused stuff over, you know, the story being the focus. And most games like this don't have good stories. It's usually just how it works. You get a good story and shit gameplay, or shit story and good gameplay. There are very few games that can accomplish both. I think people often forget that. Games like DMC3 with like, you know, a really good story and then like also top-notch gameplay are extremely rare. There aren't many games that are like that. Very few. Most narrative-focused games have, like, nothing gameplay. Which is fine, because people who like those don't want sweaty gameplay like this. They just want a story. But, yeah, that stuff doesn't interest me. I grew up in the 8-bit era, and then after that I, you know, went to the arcade, like, constantly, until I was in my mid-20s, so, you know, they talk about how a game has, a big open world or narrative focus. I'm already, like, tapped out at that point. I just want gameplay. Action roguelikes are like the closest you can get to modern arcade games. They're just arcade games that have like unlockables and stuff to keep people playing. Well, Tutas, at least your country is trying to look out for us and make it so they can't shut down like gacha games and not have an offline version. So your country's doing good.
Victory is mine.
Stop killing games is awesome.
Shooting star. Shooting star. Listen up. It's time to show my technique. That's how it's done.
Nice, just frame one grabbed. Can't move.
Shooting star.
That's weird though, because there's no gambling. They're games of skill. You'd think that like non-video arcades would be banned. Like tickets and stuff. Vast majority of ticket games are not games of skill. They are literal gambling. Arcade games could definitely try to screw you over, but they are definitely still objectively games of skill. Even stuff like, you know, midway arcade games where they went out of their way to make sure that you couldn't finish it on one credit. Ticket redemption games are basically gambling for kids, but you don't know that when you're a child, that, you know, those games have specific times that they can pay out, just like real gambling. Like, especially the ones that have actual good prizes and not like cheap dollar store toys. You know, if it's got like a phone or like a Switch in it or something, or like a big gift card, like, it's programmed to pay out at specific times. No amount of skill is gonna make it, you know, make it so that you can get it. Like, why would they ban actual video games where there's no, like, physical prize? That is really strange, but the fact that they're pushing back against loot boxes now, I think kind of makes it worth it, if you ask me. And also, trying to hold these gacha game companies accountable and making them, you know, not just kill off their game instantly when they rage quit. You know, they have to, like, actually... They have to actually, you know, produce a offline version when the server is going to shut down. There's people who, like, know how those arcade games work, where, like, they have, like, gift cards or, like, Switches and stuff. There's people who make a living doing that. There's people who make a living doing it. They know the formula for, like, when the machine is going to pay out. And they'll, like, drive to that arcade or pizza parlor or whatever it is that has it. I mean, if it's going to have an expensive prize, it won't be like a mom-and-pop pizza place. It would be more of a... more like a Dave & Buster's type thing. You know, adult amusement center. They, like, know how to metagame those, like, when they're actually going to pay out. And they travel, and I guess even with how far it takes to drive, they're still making a profit, but they keep it on the down low, because A lot of people don't even know that those machines are not games of skill. They pass for games of skill, but they're not. It's got even a gacha game has more skill in pulling because, you know, you can guarantee when there's a pity, right? And you don't actually have to spend money in most cases. You know, if you save up enough and you do the math, you know, you get what you want, right? But like those games, you could spend like $100 and get nothing because it paid out recently. You know, if it pays out once, it won't pay out again for a while. So what those people do is they go to like other places, and I guess they have some kind of secret Reddit or Discord server or something where they like know where and when one of those machines is going to pay out, because it's completely not skill-based. It just looks like it. Yeah, I know about Probotector. It's just interesting because games now are so much more violent. And what German kids had back then is like nowhere near as bad as what they have access to now. I'm not even talking about gachas. Just like overall video game violence is like normalized now. Same thing with like banning the arcades. It's like ticket games are more harmful than video games. Because they cosplay as games of skill, but they're not. And also, the value to the tickets is garbage. Especially places like Chuck E. Cheese. They buy those toys for like $1 for like 200 of them. And you gotta spend like, you know, I went to those parties as a kid. They would give you like, you know, like $5 of tokens per kid or something. You weren't getting anything with that. It didn't matter how much of a powered gamer you were as a child. You're not getting anything with that. Anything worthwhile. I don't know, the Probotector characters looked cooler. This might be a hot take. The Probotector characters looked cooler than the ones that we had here. Because Bill Reiser and Lance Bean are basically just Arnold and Sylvester Stallone, right? They're not interesting looking characters. You look at the Japanese cover arts of those games, they don't even at all hide that it's just Arnold and Sylvester Stallone. I remember seeing Probotector. I remember seeing Probotector in magazines and stuff when I was a kid. I'm like, I thought that they looked cooler. Of course, if you were a kid in Europe and you saw the American one, you would want it. But I'm like, the robots actually look cooler. Well, the humanoid mechs. Yeah, Probotector was kind of an upgrade. Probotector was an upgrade, it's just... If you were a kid in Europe, you didn't realize that. But yeah, Probotector was a secret upgrade.
Take care out there and have a blast.
Alright, I don't feel like doing this last level. I think I'm probably just gonna call it there. Maybe play something else instead. I don't feel like doing this shit last boss again.
Secret base. Rushing beat.
I actually do need to get to bed soon anyway.
Let's spice things up a bit, shall we?
Rushing beat X.
Now, Ninja Turtle censorship in Europe was a downgrade because they took away Mike's nunchucks and gave him a fucking grappling hook. And I remember getting into an argument with a kid that was an immigrant from the UK when I was a kid, and he kept saying that Mike had a grappling hook. And keep in mind, there was no internet back then, right? He didn't have any way to prove it, and we got into a little friendly argument. That was a downgrade. What is he supposed to do with a grappling hook? That's the dumbest European censorship that I ever heard of. Was like, you have the other characters with weapons that could actually kill you, but nunchaku back then, you couldn't have them in kids media, as they thought that kids were gonna kill each other with them or something. It's like, well, how was a kid gonna get that in the first place? And like, you mean to tell me if a kid got his hands on a katana, that's not dangerous too? So they gave Michelangelo a grappling hook. What is he supposed to do? You might as well just give him no weapon at that point. Like, talk about a nerf. At least the Probotector robots could still fight, right? At least they could still fight. They just don't look like Sylvester Stallone and Arnold. That's the only difference. Yeah, we got stuff like that too. The Mortal Kombat versions on Super Nintendo didn't have blood. They had sweat. But you could use Game Genie. You could use Game Genie and put the blood back. The Genesis version had blood. So you were a cool kid if you had access to the Genesis version, because it was uncensored. The Super Nintendo one was extremely censored. I like how that just kind of stopped, though. Like, now no one cares about video game violence. Mortal Kombat wasn't censored in America? Yes, on Nintendo consoles it was. On Nintendo consoles. So, like, the original trilogy, the SNES ports of those were censored. Yeah. They were pretty heavily censored. The Genesis one was not. The arcade one, of course, wasn't, because it's an American game, so obviously that's the version that all the other ones were based on. But yeah, the Nintendo versions, Nintendo of America was very against showing religion and extreme violence. So you had stuff like Castlevania, where, you know, Simon Belmont is very clearly throwing a cross, right? Because he's fighting, like, vampires and demons and stuff. They called it a boomerang. And then also Castlevania 4 and 3 are heavily censored. All the crosses and stuff got removed. Any reference to, like, Christianity was removed in those games. That didn't stop until, like, the late 90s. And then they kind of realized that it didn't really need to do it anymore, because games just got so much more violent. But it is interesting to think about, because I can tell this story before I go, because it's actually really late. I should go to bed. I was at the game center a couple years ago, and this kid, he was like a preteen, right? He couldn't have been any older than like 12. And he was playing Mortal Kombat 11 and doing fatalities. And his mom, I mean, the mom must have been around my age, right? Like 30s, late 30s or whatever. She was just on her phone watching. I'm like, dude, if I had access to that when I was a kid, my mom would have been pissed. And then you look at the violence in the old Mortal Kombat games, and it's very cartoony. It's not at all realistic. It's not possible for a child to even remotely imitate it. And then now, like, the violence is just way worse, and no one seems to care. It's still hard for me to wrap my head around how much they tried to protect us as kids, and then eventually they just stopped caring. You know, like Power Rangers, the censorship around that, I could understand, because there were incidents where kids got beaten up because of it, so they, like, nerfed the violence considerably. I could understand that, But Mortal Kombat was always weird to me. Like, you can't just, like, decapitate somebody. That's what you do in those games, right? Like, you punch people and they explode, or you, like, rip their whole rib cage out. Rip their whole spine out. You can't do that, right? I don't know. Nintendo was very weird back then. Swearing, I mean, video games back then barely had any talking, so... And a lot of the, like, adult-oriented games, you know, with more intense violence and stuff, we didn't even get those games over here. Japan had a lot more mature-themed games on the Nintendo platforms than we ever got over here. I'm not talking about porn. I'm talking about, like, the level of violence and stuff, and, like, being more made for, like, at least teens instead of kid-friendly. We didn't get any of those games over here. And you guys didn't either. Most of them. I wouldn't say it was America. America is a very religious country. But Nintendo of America really wanted to avoid it. They really wanted to avoid it. So anything that had that kind of imagery or, like, very clearly Christianity inspired, they would get rid of it. They try to censor it as much as possible. Oh, the manji? Yeah. Yeah, the manji kanji looks a lot like a swastika. But you can't expect parents and, you know, mainstream news outlets to understand that, right? You can't expect them to have any kind of cultural understanding of anything but America, right? So they had to get rid of it. It's not like there were swastikas in the game. It's literal a Japanese character that looks like it. There were a lot of games that got hit by that, actually. You know, it's harmless over there, but it does look like a swastika, so they got told to take that out, even though it's completely harmless. It doesn't mean what it looks like, but, you know, even back then, people didn't have any kind of understanding of any culture but their own, so they got told to take all that shit out. I forgot about that. Yeah, that's another one as well. Another one that's interesting before I go is Ninja Warriors. The censorship in that game is interesting because it actually affects gameplay. This happened with Final Fight as well. Final Fight, they replaced Poison and Roxy with a male character, but, like, he's just a sprite swap, right? He's not a new enemy. In Ninja Warriors, when the American version, the Kunoichi, you know, they didn't want violence against women characters, which I find really strange because they had, like, you know, Street Fighter and stuff around that time, and no one seemed to care. But, like, they didn't want violence against, you know, humanoid-looking females, so they replaced it with the Wolverine guy. But the difference is that whole enemy type is removed, and I think every spawn of the Kunoichi they just replaced with the Wolverine guy. So that's an instance where the censorship actually affects gameplay. You know, the Mortal Kombat SNES ports were fine, it just didn't have the gore. But, you know, they were perfectly playable. There was nothing really wrong with them otherwise. But, like, the Ninja Warriors censorship actually is interesting because it did mess with the intended design of the game. There's not supposed to be that many Wolverine dudes, but they took out an entire enemy type in a game that only has, like, a dozen enemies. So they just, like, switched the spawns. That's why the remake is pretty cool, because the censorship was removed. Wherever the Kunoichi is supposed to be, she's actually there, instead of being a switch spawn. Anyway, that's going to do it for now. I should be on in the morning. I'll probably finish up that Rushing Beat playthrough and maybe work on some other stuff. I do have to help my neighbor in the morning, so I should probably get to bed. I haven't even taken my meds yet, so I think I'm going to call it there. I'll see you guys in the morning. Thanks for watching.